Now, I'm someone who's called out anti-Semitism in the Labour Party and on the left, wherever it manifests itself, called for a ceaseless war against it. I would point out that whilst the media talked a lot about anti-Semitism on the left and in the Labour Party, the Conservative Party, which is a cesspit of bigotry, which does not have a long track record of fighting racism in all of its forms, the same scrutiny has simply not been applied. Now, I'm standing outside the Finsbury Park Mosque in North London, one of the hubs of Britain's more than 3 million strong Muslim community. The Muslim Council of Britain have just called for an inquiry into Islamophobia within the Tory party, and that's been backed by Baroness Warsi, who is a Conservative peer, and she said that the party has buried its head in the sand over the issue. Here are some examples of anti-Muslim hatred from the Conservative Party. In a damning open letter, the Muslim Council of Britain pointed out that the Tories haven't taken any action against one of their own MPs, Bob Blackman, after he shared a link from an anti-Muslim US website. He's previously retweeted the far-right, now imprisoned leader, Tommy Robinson. Calderdale councillor Mike Payne, he posted an article saying France slashes benefits to Muslim parasites by 83%, lovely. Karen Sunderland, standing as a Tory candidate in the elections for Lewisham Council, she called Islam the new Nazism. Another Tory councillor, Bernard McGuinn, was suspended after a string of horrendous bigoted tweets, including one calling Muslims murdering fascist bastards. David Boston, a Tory candidate, was suspended days before the local elections for posting a photo of bacon hanging from a door handle with the caption, "Protect your house from terrorists." There's Darren Harrison, who was a Tory council candidate for Watford. He supported the neo-Nazi organisation Generation Identity. The Tory candidate Alexander Van ter Heyden in Hackney, suspended for allegedly supporting an anti-Muslim hate group. Now, you might be thinking, come on, you're being unreasonable. These are just some random examples of council candidates, but this goes right to the top. Remember 2 years ago in London, one of the great diverse multicultural cities on the face of the earth, the Tories had the audacity to field Zac Goldsmith, who ran a viciously anti-Muslim dogwhistle campaign against Sadiq Khan, trying to portray him as the pawn of extremists. That was backed up by the likes of David Cameron, and afterwards you had Tories privately briefing that this was poisonous. Well, they didn't say that during the campaign, did they? They all lined up behind Zac Goldsmith as he tapped into some of the most basest, most dangerous prejudices in Britain. We've had a stream of articles in the mainstream press which have, frankly, tapped into bigotry and prejudice about Muslims and helped whip up bigotry and prejudice, which have been based on complete untruths. So the Times recently was forced to publish a front page correction after an article, the headline, the sensationalist headline, "Christian Child Forced into Muslim Foster Care," it was found by the Independent Press Standards Organisation that they had distorted the facts. There was another case a couple of years ago when the Sun newspaper splashed on their front page, 1 in 5 Brits Muslim sympathy for ISIS. Again, ipso, the Independent Press Standards Organisation found that that was significantly misleading. Now, there is a sense amongst many of Britain's 3 million Muslims and Muslim neighbours that they are under attack from the media, from the political elite, and that is helping to legitimise huge amounts of hatred that they experience in their communities, in their workplaces, and on the streets. Now, Muslims face huge disadvantages in this country, and that's because of a society which is systemically racist. Now, consider a government report published late last year which found that only 1 in 5 Muslims aged between 18 and 74 were in full-time work, compared to 35% for the population as a whole, which looked at the barriers that Muslims faced, whether it be students who faced stereotyping, whether it be the fact that minority ethnic-sounding names slashed the likelihood of them being considered for an interview, the fact that young Muslims routinely feared becoming targets of bullying and harassment and reported having to work 10 times as hard to get on, and whether it be the fact that women who wore headscarfs were at particular risk of facing discrimination within the workplace. These are barriers that most of you watching, including myself, have never had to face, but that's part of the daily reality of life for so many Muslim people in this country. And at the same time, hate crimes directed at Muslims are soaring in this country. Between 2016 and 2011, the number of hate crimes directed at mosques like this more than doubled. We are being fed a battery of hatred and lies against Muslims, and it has real world consequences. There was Darren Osborne, an anti-Muslim terrorist who drove his van into worshippers of this very mosque, who had been radicalised by social media and by media coverage, and as a consequence saw Muslims as this enemy within. And he said he came to London because he hoped to actually kill Jeremy Corbyn, and as a bonus, he said, Sadiq Khan, on the basis they were terrorist sympathisers. We had Thomas Mehr, of course, a neo-Nazi terrorist who killed Joe Cox. We had the case of Anders Breivik in Norway, who murdered dozens of young socialists on the basis that they were accomplices in the Islamisation of Europe. This is real and dangerous, and the fact that our governing party has such a big problem with Islamophobia and anti-Muslim hatred is a very, very serious scandal. It's not being addressed, it's not getting the attention it deserves. The very least the Tories can do, as the Muslim Council of Britain have asked them, is to have an inquiry into the anti-Muslim hatred infesting its ranks. Labour is now correctly acting and issuing a whole range of new tough guidelines and rules to deal with anti-Semitism and anti-Semites within its ranks. The Tories now must do the same thing. Now I want to hear your thoughts about this. Not going to lie, I'm slightly in a brace position about some of the comments, which, just to be blunt about it, I think will show how much of a problem anti-Muslim hatred is. But look, do you know what? I'm a plastic northerner, now standing here in London, whose mayor, Sadiq Khan, is a Muslim who has fought for LGBT rights, the sort of guy who really aggravates both Islamophobes and Islamist fundamentalists. And I think actually that the Islamophobes are going to lose. But I want to hear your thoughts. How do we combat it? How do we challenge it? How do we put pressure on the Conservative Party to address the rot within their ranks? Always like hearing your thoughts. As ever, please subscribe, spread the word. I'll see you next time.